It's Tuesday, July 11. In the headlines, NWA boss to supervise St. Thomas Highway leg. In business news, government looking to promote fair competition in the liquefied petroleum gas industry. Regionally, the Bahamas celebrates 50 years of independence. Internationally, Sweden joining NATO. And in sports, West Indies women beat Ireland. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Chief Executive Officer of the National Works Agency, E.G. Hunter, will be spearheading the South Coast Highway Improvement Project to ensure timely completion. That's the word from the Office of the Prime Minister. In a press release on Monday, OPM explained the move follows delays caused by broken water mains on a section of the roadway. The matter has since been corrected. To prevent further occurrences of such water main breaks, the NWA will conduct inspections along the roadway to detect signs of leakage. According to the release, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has directed the contractor, China Harbour Engineering, to increase their resources and expedite the project's completion. Wage talks between the management of the National Water Commission, NWC, and 5 unions representing workers will continue Wednesday, July 12 at the Labour Ministry. The meeting follows hours of talks on Monday aimed at averting strike action at the company. Workers are restive over outstanding matters relating to the public sector compensation review process. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton had high praises for healthcare workers who he says continues to make sacrifices in a system with its fair share of challenges. He was speaking at the National Church Service for Healthcare Workers Appreciation Month. This is the second year that Healthcare Workers Appreciation Month is being recognized following the proclamation of the Governor General in 2022.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness joins a proud nation in saluting our healthcare workers, the vanguards of public health. Healthcare workers include not just nurses and doctors, they are critical to the process. It includes porters, data entry clerks, community health aides, and administrators. And they have continued to blaze a trail of service excellence to Jamaicans from all walks of life.
The proclamation also stated that July 13 be recognized as Healthcare Workers Appreciation Day. It's being recognized under the theme, Honoring Commitment, Service and Sacrifice. Dr. Tufton says the ministry remains committed to the sector's development despite the challenges.
We still have issues in the system that we have to deal with. But for the overwhelming majority of us, I dare say that we are committed to the cause and committed to making the sacrifices that are necessary.
He says the infrastructure of the health systems continues to expand.
Expansion in hard infrastructure like Spanish Town Hospital, the University Hospital of the West Indies, the new hospital in Montego Bay, Western Child and Adolescent Hospital, and I could go on and on, almost $250 million US dollars that has started and will continue over the next 2 to 3 years.
Residents of Somerset in Manchester now have access to 40,000 tons of potable water free of cost, following the opening of a water shop in the area. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie officially opened the facility on the weekend. The Somerset facility, which was constructed at a cost of $21 million, will provide 40,000 gallons of potable water daily to residents. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister McKenzie told residents that a newly established water shop in the community is for their personal use. He said the government has been working on effective water supply actions since 2016.
We have gone about 13 water shops. We have spent close to $175 million building out these facilities since 2016.
He said a special focus is being placed on rural areas.
We have identified rivers or streams where water runs. And we are now working on a program which I hope later on this year to announce that once we will have concluded the study on that, the same thing like what we did in Chambers Pen in Hanover, where we tie an entire community, 1,500 residents, who never had water in their pipes, in their homes. And we use rural water to devise a system that ties them into a main water line that in Chambers Pen, in Hanover, every single household have water in their homes as a part of the improvement of providing water.
To date, 4 shops have been constructed in the parish, the other 3 being in Marley Hill, Belfield, and Mile Gully. The minister reminded the residents that the water shop represented their property tax at work, so they should guard it.
Those who are going to be using the water must not come like they do at some other location, load up drums in the back of their pickup, and then carry it and sell it.
Over the last few years, mental health issues were multiplied by forced quarantine to combat COVID-19. Nationwide lockdowns can produce acute panic, anxiety, obsessive behaviors, hoarding, paranoia and depression, and a post-traumatic stress disorder in the long run. Here's a look at how the Pan American Health Organization has been observing and actively giving aid to member countries. Remember, Jamaica is a member of PAHO.
The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated many problems across the Caribbean region, one of them being the lack of access to mental health services. Recognizing this, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, set out on a mission to strengthen mental health and psychosocial response to COVID and other crises in 3 Caribbean nations, including Suriname.
When your mental health is at stake, that a lot of things also can go wrong.
And unfortunately, this led to a shocking number of suicides in the country.
In that period, we had an increase of suicide cases in Nigeria. So when we were there, I think every day we were there 3 to 4 days, and every day that we were there was a case.
And through the PAHO-led project, the Bureau of Public Health in the Ministry of Health in Suriname engaged the public through trainings and outreach programs to address the far-reaching effects of mental health.
In the period of COVID, mental health was not forgotten, and that a lot of activities were done. For instance, we made sure that some people got some information, so awareness in our population about mental health. We held some panel discussions, for instance. 4 panel discussions were held. We also had a radio program for elderly with 2 doctors who made it possible that the people could call and ask some questions. The same thing was done with the panel discussions. We had training, basic psychosocial skills. We had a launch of 2 trainings from the PAHO, who we asked the PAHO to translate these trainings for us. So it was psychological first aid and suicide prevention training. Every suicide is one too many.
Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
The government has announced that it is looking to promote fair competition in the liquefied petroleum gas industry. Energy Minister Daryl Vaz said last week that the LPG working group was established a year ago to put together a draft code of conduct
to improve the relationships among the LPG bulk distributors, dealers, and retailers. This code of conduct is being finalized by the working group chaired by Mr. Wayne Chen, And when finalized and implemented, it seeks to encourage fair competition between industry players with the ultimate goal of providing more efficient service to customers, while the owners of the assets realize a reasonable return on their investment.
Minister Vaz revealed that legislation is being finalized to govern the industry. He said the bill, when enacted, would regulate the activities pertaining to the petroleum downstream sector and the supply of liquefied natural gas.
The bill, when it becomes an act, will regulate the activities related to the petroleum downstream sector, including importation, refining, blending, storage, terminal operations, bulk distribution, retailing, and transportation of all petroleum products, including liquefied petroleum gas. This legislation will also help to regulate the activities related to the supply of LNG, liquefied natural gas, including the receipt, unloading, storage, processing, regasification, compression, transportation, distribution by network, and the retail sales of natural gas.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, July 10, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.21. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $116.80. The pound sterling traded for $197.79, and the euro sold for $171.74. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by 1,424 points. The junior market index advanced by 8 points. The combined market index declined by 1,248 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 91 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 106 stocks, of which 48 advanced, 42 declined, and 16 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and the Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Verbal Preference, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Elite Diagnostic Limited. The overall volume leaders were Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with over 17 million units, Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with over 2 million units, and Dollar Financial Services Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund was the only active security posting a volume of 369 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, 0 securities traded. In regional business, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago has strengthened its regulation of the local insurance sector. President of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Larry Taichu, shared some financial tips as he spoke about some of the changes in the sector.
President of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Larry Taichu, notes the insurance sector in this country has changed in recent years, with more regulation being put in place to oversee the sector.
One of the things that Central Bank, who are our regulators, have done over the last 3 years was introducing something called Continuing Professional Development, or CPD credits, that agents must do course-wise in any given year in order to have their license renewed.
TIFA's president has served as a local insurer for more than 30 years.
When it comes to insurance, not only Trinidad and Tobago, but it has been proven statistically that our entire region is underinsured. And I think it's partly because of lack of knowledge, right? And partly because people just have not even ventured into looking for insurance. It's a mindset.
He says the association has taken a decision to actively raise its profile and educate the public on the need for protection from risk via insurance.
Insurance or risk planning must be done proactively and never reactively, because reactive is too late. You have to put things in place hoping that you never have to ever use it. Because who buys any form of insurance with the hope of using it?
and he offers advice to both businesses and individuals.
This is why it's important to review your will. In the same way, when I ask them, do you have insurance? And they say, yes. I said, when last have you reviewed it? And they said, well, since I bought it, it took up in the filing cabinet. I said, well, you admitted that your situation has changed over the years. And so you would admit that because your situation's changed, your risk portfolio needs to be reviewed to make sure that that umbrella that is over you is still covering the entire grown you.
In international business, U.S. stocks ended higher ahead of a busy week that includes key inflation data and the start of second quarter earnings season.
The Dow climbed 0.6%, the S&P 500 gained 0.25%, and the Nasdaq added 0.2%. Investors will see if inflation is continuing to moderate when the Consumer Price Index report for June is released on Wednesday. That could shed light on the interest rate outlook, with many traders expecting the Federal Reserve to raise rates by 25 basis points this month after pausing in June. Philip Palumbo, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Palumbo Wealth Management, believes more rate hikes are necessary but will lead to some pain for the economy.
Inflation is no doubt is decelerating, and that's a great thing for overall consumers. But everybody has to remember that the Fed looks at core PCE, which takes away food and energy, which are more volatile. And when you think about where core PCE is today, the Fed is not happy about that. So what the Fed needs to do is they need to continue to put their foot on the gas pedal to get the economy to a point where we go into a recession. They don't want to say that, but that's ultimately what's going to happen, or ultimately what they're trying to do.
S&P 500 company earnings unofficially kick off this week with reports from big U.S. banks. Data from Refinitiv showed that analysts expect earnings to have fallen 6.4% in the second quarter compared to a year ago. In company news, shares of chipmaker Intel rose nearly 3%, while rival Qualcomm's rose 1% after U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said over the weekend that meetings with senior Chinese officials were direct and productive. And shares of Icahn Enterprises surged more than 20% after the investment firm said its founder, 87-year-old billionaire Carl Icahn, and banks have finalized amended loan agreements that untie the legendary activist investor's personal loans from the trading price of his firm.
In market data for oil prices were little changed as traders weighed supply cuts by the world's biggest oil exporters. Brent crude futures rose 35 cents to $78.04 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude was up 38 cents at $73.37. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, in Barbados, there's a call for important issues related to mental health to be introduced from the primary school level to help impart important information and knowledge at the earliest possible stage. It is coming from consultant psychiatrist Dr. Joy Sue. Clinical psychologist Reverend Dr. Marcus Lashley also weighed in on the issue of mental health legislation.
Where the young people are concerned, I think we should be getting into the primary schools really and trying to teach kids more about making them more aware of mental health, trying to really demystify and destigmatize the idea of mental health, getting them to be aware of what problems they may get with their mental health and what are the signs that may occur. Also getting the teachers and the persons within the school, their parents also more aware of these things, and helping to teach children how to cope when they face certain challenges from an early age. That's one of the things you can do to help prevent later suicides from occurring. I can say that PAHO is supposed to be doing a mental health literacy training with staff in the schools, and hopefully that will be on board soon.
We have had attempts at revising our Mental Health Act, sitting in the office of the Chief Parliamentary Counsel for over 20 years. That is absolutely ridiculous. If we as a nation are taking mental health seriously, then we have to stop revising the revisions and simply get on with passing a new Mental Health Act. It is critical As Dr. Sue mentioned, there are so many things that have changed in the world, and there are emerging needs that need to be addressed in terms of our legislation. And that we've had such an impact from COVID on mental health of our citizens, then this piece of legislation has to be a priority for this government.
In the Bahamas, on Monday, that country celebrated its 50th Independence Day. To celebrate, Bahamians gathered to be part of the historic moment, ringing in the half a century of independence. Marlena Leonard reports.
Clifford Park was packed with patriotic Bahamians as we celebrated the 50th anniversary of our independence from the United Kingdom. Early on, there was a special message from King Charles III, where he reminisced about his time on Clifford Park 50 years ago and his hopes for the future of the brilliant minds of the Bahamas. Crowds enjoyed the military tattoo, which included a flyover by the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Air Wing, an ecumenical service, and a cultural celebration that included 50 facts and accomplishments we've achieved as a country in the past half century, as well as educational spotlights on our islands in between musical selections. We spoke to some of the spectators about their favorite parts of the event and what makes them proud to be Bahamian. Charles Johnson was at Clifford Park in 1973 and says,
"It was beautiful. It was a great experience. Sitting here, going back into the past and now into the present, seeing what it is, it almost bringing tears to my eyes to know that I'm still here to enjoy 50 years later."
Sasha Higgs tells us her favorite part was the jaw-dropping drone show.
It's amazing. Okay, you go to the Blue Mountain and everything. Whoever do the live show did a great job. We're proud to be a Bahamian because we are so unique. What we have to offer, only us got to offer it. Okay? And when you come to the Bahamas, you get to see all kind of things that nobody else got to offer.
As midnight struck, one of the men raising the flag was Sergeant Mark Taylor, the grandson of Sergeant Irvin Taylor, who helped raise our flag for the first time in 1973. Followed by cannon salutes and a show-stopping fireworks display to round off the night. Aurelia Joseph's favorite part of the celebration was the military tattoo and says she's proud of our freedoms.
It's just nice to say that, hey, I'm a Bahamian.
Happy 50th Independence Day, Bahamas. Reporting for our news, I'm Marlena Leonard.
In a bid to ensure that Amerindians have the resources to develop themselves, the Guyanese government has dispersed $1.3 billion from their carbon credit fund.
The country collected $4.7 billion for the sale of its carbon credit to Hess Corporation. Minister of Amerindian Affairs Pauline Sukai at Region 1's Regional Two Shows Conference revealed that already 37 villages in Region 1 have uplifted monies.
There is no problem with finances. Not at all. So when I visit villages, I expect to see a hub of activities. New and spanking infrastructure being worked, engaging community and villages. I would like to see women's project on the rise. I would like to see projects related to young people, youth and sports development, a hub of activities. I would like to see also that you are paying attention to the elderly.
Of the 242 Amerindian villages in Guyana, 165 have submitted village sustainability plans, VSPs, allowing them to access the monies that are available in their bank accounts. They were told to ensure that they submit their estimates to the ministry to receive monies available under the $3 billion supplementary fund.
At this point in time, we are still awaiting some of the estimates for those projects that fall under the community participation component of the $3 billion. So you have lots of work to do.
In international news, after blocking the application for a year citing security concerns, Turkey on Monday agreed to back Sweden's bid to join NATO after major changes by the Swedish government. More from Al Jazeera.
Sweden, it seems, is finally closer to joining NATO after hours of frantic diplomacy. The Turkish president has been blocking Swedish membership for 15 months, And just hours before arriving here, he added a new condition. He told reporters he was linking Sweden's bid to join NATO to his own country's long-stalled application for EU membership. Talks between Turkey and Sweden went on for hours. At one point, there were paused so President Erdogan could have a meeting with EU Council President Charles Michel, who promised new and enhanced engagement with Ankara. Then, late in the evening, the NATO Secretary-General made this announcement.
I have just had a constructive meeting with President Erdogan and Prime Minister Kristersson. I'm glad to announce that as a result, President Erdogan has agreed to forward the accession protocol for Sweden to the Grand National Assembly as soon as possible, and work closely with the Assembly to ensure ratification.
In addition to the eve of summit talks on Sweden, behind the scenes there have been frantic negotiations on what NATO leaders should say about President Zelensky's demands that his country be given a clear and concrete path for it to join the alliance.
In sports, the NGC Republic Bank Junior National Track and Field Championships got going on Saturday at the refurbished Halsey Crawford Stadium in Trinidad and Tobago. Here's a look at the junior athletes in the 100-meter finals from TTT Live.
The girls on the 15-100 meters was the first sprint finals, and in this one, Burnley's JL Peters was the winner in 12.48 seconds, with Zenit Athletics pair Michaela Cupid and Zia Tobias coming in second and third respectively. The boys at the 15-100 meters was a close encounter, with Jonas Guaitan representing Cougars edging Jaquan Douglas of Zenit Athletics to the line to win in 11.40 seconds. Taekwon John of Burnley completed the top three places. To the girls on the 18, where another close encounter occurred, with Symphony Patrick of Concord Athletic getting the win on the line in 11.75 seconds. Alexia Henry of Zenith came in second, and Kezia Peters of Simplex was third. On to the boys on the 18-100 final, and it was Jamario Russell of Memphis Pioneers that got the win in 10.68 seconds. Kadeem Ryan of Cougars was the runner-up, and Christiana Austin of KRC came in third. The penultimate sprint final on the track was the girls on the 20-100. Renisha Andrews of Cougars was the winner in 11.82 seconds, followed by Caressa Curtin running unattached in second, and Khadija Pickering running for Abilene Wildcats in third place. And it was the boys at the 20-100 that closed the opening day of competition, and Concord Athletics' Ravel Webster's 10.36 seconds clocking was enough for victory. Dylan Gaines of Memphis Pioneers was second, and Jordan Noel, Cougars, third. Kent Fuentes, TTT Sports.
Hayley Matthews produced a spell of magic with a superb hat-trick to lead the West Indies women to an emphatic 8-wicket win over Ireland women in the third T20 International at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground on a Saturday night.
The West Indies captain also played brilliantly with the bat as the home team won the third match and made a clean sweep of the series. Batting first, Ireland looked intent on posting their highest total of the series with beautiful stroke play from Amy Hunter and Ola Prendergast. The pair shared in a 66-run partnership for the second wicket when Hunter was run out for 44 off a deflection of Ashimi Munisar's fingers. In reply, Dejanaba Joseph was caught behind for 2 in the second over. Then Matthews and Aliyah Alin took over the run chase. The pair smashed 12 boundaries between them as they raced to the 117-run target. Matthews, going for her second consecutive half-century, was bowled by Georgina Dempsey for 48 off 34 balls. Chanel Henry joined Allen, and the pair took the West Indies women to victory in 18.1 overs. Allen ended on 49 not out and Henry on 30 not out as the home team eased on to 120 for 2.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks so much for watching.